That's what I'm talking. That's what I'm talking about. That's better. That is better. Hey, so this is the next. I don't know what installments. I have no clue how many. I don't know how many of these you've done up to this point. Um, but this is a workshop, and those of you who are new, I give workshops every third Saturday of the month, of each month. So every third Saturday, there's a different workshop, and the workshop is based on a different topic. And there's no rhyme or reason to the topics. We just know the topics, and that's how. Oh, excuse me. It's the fourth Saturday.
Right, I was gonna say.
Yes, the fourth Saturday of every month. I don't know why I keep thinking. Every time we do these, I always say the third Saturday. But it's the fourth Saturday of every month.
Mhm.
And if you are, some of you are in part of the ARC, and so you know that we'll talk about, I'll mention it in class, and then there's notifications sent out. And those of you who are not a part of ARC, because sometimes we have these workshops and they're open to the public, and some of them are closed only to people in ARC, simply because some of the subject matter that we'll discuss is specific to what we're learning in ARC. And so some of the stuff may go over the heads of people who are not in ARC. Probably, oh, 1 second, somebody crumbling up some potato chips, something. But most of them are open to the public for certain. And generally, I make those announcements to the public maybe the day before or something like that, because I want to give everyone in ARC a chance to get in, because as we grow, there's only limited space for these events. So I want to give you all a chance to get in first. So that's why I delay the notification to the general public. So anyway, that is that. So that is why you all are here today for this particular. Yes, this one is open to the public, so anyone can come to this one. Certainly. Anyway, so what was I just saying? I don't know what I was saying. Oh, yeah. So you all are here today for this workshop, and today's topic is, drum roll please, how to live a protected life from conception to your transition. How do you do that? Because a lot of times, what I've noticed is we run around, and a lot of people will run around saying, I need protection, I need protection, I need protection. I hear that all the time. And when I do divinations, I can see where there are times when people are being attacked by other people, because other people are just like that. It never makes sense to me why you would just attack someone to me, it's no reason, because I guess it's a reason for other people, because you don't like them, or you may be jealous, or there may be some envy that exists. Who knows what it is? And quite frankly, what I've learned, because I'll go to these little, these Wiccan groups sometime, and I'll just kind of be a fly on the wall and peek in on the conversation just to see where people's heads are around, whatever spiritual system they're practicing. And I've noticed that within that community of Wiccans, I don't care if it's like general Wiccans or there's something called the Black Wiccans or Black Witches and Warlocks, something like that. The behavior is the same. There's a lot of childlike behavior that exists. And what I noticed is that people will actually throw something or attack someone because they said something to them at work that they didn't like. That doesn't make any sense at all. This is crazy, foolishness. Or somebody looked at them the wrong way. or, somebody stepped on their shoe, or they just think the person don't like them. You'll be amazed, and some of you may be a part of those groups, you'll be amazed at the reasons that people will attack other people. And then the crazy thing is they will attack them. And I've read where people will say, oh, I bet she won't do that again. And I'm like, well, they don't even know what they did, because apparently somebody was talking one day, somebody was in the hospital, and they said, oh, I bet they won't do that again. And I'm like, well, they don't even know what they did to get in the hospital. So how do they know not to do something again? It's not like you went up to them and said, hey, I just spiritually attacked you. People don't do that at all. And so it's very childlike behavior. And when you do things like that, you have to be very careful who you attack, because you have no clue who you're attacking. Because if you attack, for example, me, or like some of the Jim Warrior Boss students or anything like that, I hope it works out for you, because it's not. Because we've all bathed in specific medicine, and we have certain spirits that will go out and kick your butt up and down the street. And really, this is the reality of it. There's some protection that you can get, and then I'll get into the main subject matter. There's some protection you'll get that the moment you start to plot against someone, those spirits will go out and kill you. They don't play. But there's spirits that are just that powerful, but you have to be on a certain level to even get those, because you have to be a very responsible person. Because if you're a messy person, you'll never get those kind of spirits at all, ever. But there are spirits, with the moment you plot against somebody, or you even speak against them, those spirits will just go out and just take you out, period. And I know elders who actually have that level of protection. And so, you have to be careful with your words. You have to be careful about who you attack, who you don't like for no reason, that it just doesn't make sense. But anyway, let's get into this subject matter. So, how to live a protected life from conception to your transition. There are a lot of things that are missing out of our view from a Western perspective of how we bring children into this world, how we even conceive, how we raise our children, blah, 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 and how we live our lives. And one of the primary things that's missing is that we do not perform specific rituals when conception takes place. Like when husband and wife, know that they are pregnant, traditionally, you do not announce the pregnancy until there are specific rituals performed. You can be walking around and your belly sticking out and you're 6 months pregnant. If somebody asks you if you're pregnant, you'd be like, oh, what you talking about? Huh? Nah, I ain't pregnant. Oh, you talking about this? Oh, girl, I just ate. Whatever you're going to say, you just say it. Because you don't voice that until there are rituals that have been performed to protect you as a mother and the child, to make sure that your pregnancy goes well, make sure that your child is born healthy, and make sure that during the pregnancy process, you don't get sick, or if someone tries to attack you, because there could be someone, who knows, who's jealous because you're pregnant. They might want your man and they can't have him because he didn't like them, but he liked you. And so they may go out and attack you. And that happens today, here in the West. And we wonder why, oh, I just can't conceive. Oh, I just, I just can't conceive, excuse me. Oh, I just can't conceive. Or I'm just having medical issues. And you can go to the doctor and the doctor will say, oh, you're perfectly fine. You're healthy. Your uterus is healthy. Everything is fine. We can't figure out why you keep having miscarriages. one after the other after the other. There are rituals performed, actually the divinations performed to see what's happening, and then there are the rituals performed to take care of you when you conceive. And so the levels in which people will go to in order to stop you from coming into this world is just amazing. And this is not everybody, so I don't like to do like spookism stuff and scare people and have people on high alert all the time, like somebody trying to attack them, because most of the time ain't nobody bothering you. But there are instances where people are. So anyway, once you have performed these rituals, then you can announce and you can say that you're pregnant. But other than that, up to that point, you don't at all. Now, once you have given birth, this part is so important. Traditionally, you would take that placenta. You take it, not the doctors and give it off to whomever. You take it. And you take it to your yard and you bury it. If you don't have a yard, you take it to a safe space, like way out in the bush somewhere, and you bury it. You place it in a clay pot and seal it. And you allow it to decompose naturally, because you don't want bugs to start eating the placenta. That's an impact. You don't want somebody to come and get that placenta. That's an impact. Because if someone gets your child's placenta, they have control over that child. Because that placenta is the child. Sometimes we separate it. Once we cut it, but that's it. But that placenta is a part of the child, is an extension of that child. So if someone gets that placenta, they can perform all kinds of rituals over that placenta. And I promise you, the majority of the people, I'm not going to say all, the majority of you all who have children, you all let the doctors take your placenta and you honestly have no clue what they did with it. Well, we know they sell it and they make makeup and whatever, but you don't know what they cut it up and they may send it over to this person or send it over wherever they send it. And sometimes you wonder why we as a people are stuck.
Well, today is a free class. Anybody could get on this.
Wait a minute. Hold up.
Where
you at? Here we go. And we wonder why we're in the condition we're in. And you have no clue what people are doing with your placenta. And we're not the only group of people in the world who do spiritual work. Every single ethnic group has a spiritual system. I don't care if you're white, black, or candy stripe. And those systems work. So someone can get your child's placenta and perform rituals over it in order to make them docile, in order to make them obedient, in order to keep them in some type of bondage. That's real. And we would just say, traditionally we would say you just bound that person is bound, or you're binding them to do what you want. To keep us in poverty, to keep us in a state of chaos. And that's real. That stuff happens. And those of you who have practiced, because some of you have practiced in traditional systems, traditional African systems or other systems, you know that you can bind somebody. And so we've been left unprotected. And then we leave our children, our nieces, our nephews, our godchildren. We leave them unprotected because we don't know. And so it's time for us to start demanding that we get our placentas. You go to Ghana, when you have a baby, the doctor actually brings you your placenta and gives it to you. You don't have to ask for it because they know. And let me be clear, I don't know about the whole of Ghana. But what I do know is that happens. The places I've been, I know that it happens there. You can see there's no question about it because they know that you need to go and perform whatever rituals you need to perform to protect your child. And traditionally, that placenta stays buried in the yard, along with everybody else in your family. Their placentas are buried in the yard. Because everybody has a family home. Well, not everybody, but you know what I mean. For the most part, people have family homes. And a lot of times these homes have been in place 500, 600, 700 years. And so everybody in the family, you take your placenta there and they bury it. And perform whatever rituals need to be performed to protect you, to protect the child and blah, 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 that stuff. But we allow ourselves, unintentionally because we don't know, to be vulnerable, to not be protected. And you see that all of that starts, all your protection starts from conception. And in many instances, let me back up. It can even start before conception. Because there are rituals that can be done before you even conceive. So it can start before conception. And the protection continues throughout your life, period. So I'm gonna stick a pin right there really quick and see if anybody has any questions or comments. I don't want to go too far into the next piece.
Yes. Good morning. This is Renee.
Renee.
Yes. Hi. Yes. As far as protection goes, I think that my daughter was protected to a certain extent by her spirit guides because she was scheduled to have her baby in the birthing home, which is right across the street from the cemetery. And instead, we didn't make it there. She had the baby in the car. And in hindsight, I was thinking maybe that was the spirits, preventing her from having the child right next to the cemetery, which is also a hangout spot for the vagabonds. So I guess that was a protection. I think that was a protection, and if you would comment on that.
Yeah, it's possible that that's why, she ended up having it in the car. And so, I would say yes, that they were looking out for, that'd be your granddaughter.
Yeah.
I would say they were looking out for her. The question is, what did you do with the placenta?
I kept the placenta and put it in the freezer. And then we had, we thought we was having a hurricane and the lights went out. The lights did go out for a number of days. And it just kind of, the blood we put it in the cooler, but then It got messed up, it started leaking. So I kind of threw it away because it was just a mess. But I did initially keep it. I didn't know what to do with it.
Okay.
But I need to keep it, yeah.
And I would say throwing it away is better than giving it away. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And it's not to say, like, I don't want to say that to have everybody just throw your placentas away, because there are things that need to be done. But it's better to throw it away than to have it in the hands of someone who may know what to do with the placenta, know the importance of it. Like at a hospital, you give it to the hospital and they do whatever they do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Slice it and dice it and sell it here, sell this there, whatever they do. So, yeah, your ancestors will definitely do what they can to protect you.
Ashe. Mm-hmm.
But we have to understand that we have free will.
Mm-hmm.
And our free will override everything, because it's what we want to do, period. Even if someone tells someone, oh, the hospital does this, and this with your placenta. The mass majority of the people be like, oh, that's messed up. And they still go to the hospital and do whatever they do. Because they feel, I don't know if they feel powerless, I'm not sure what. But someone can tell you, it's just like, I'm having this conversation. I promise you, everyone who conceives after this workshop, they go to the hospital, they will not demand their placenta. Some people will, and other people won't even, because this will turn into a good conversation. Or no, a good sermon. That's what it'll turn into. For some people. And they'll go and they'll actually have friends who will have children, or they have children who will have children, and they won't mention it at all. And it may even cross their minds, but they will not say a word. For whatever reason, they won't say the word. I don't know why, but they won't say it at all. So, yeah, in regards to what you were dealing with, taking the placenta and throwing it away is better than giving it to someone. Mm-hmm. But just so, like, in the future, take that placenta and you can go put it in a clay pot and make sure the clay pot is sealed and bury it. And you can do prayers over that placenta. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Okay, good point. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Let me see. Who is this? Wait, hold on 1 second. My screen keeps jumping. Let me get Dahlia and Nalina. I don't know which one.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's Nalina.
Okay.
I just wondered, like, after my daughter was born, it's been like 23 years. How can I go about protecting both of us since our placenta is already gone?
So, good question. And actually, I'm going to get to that, but I'll touch on it a little bit now. The best thing for you to do is really like what you're doing now, starting to reconnect with your ancestors so they can better guide you and guiding you around protection. Now, don't think that like your ancestors are the end all be all around protection, because amongst the pantheon of spirits, ancestors are the least powerful among the pantheon of spirits. They are the least powerful. I was speaking to someone a couple of days ago who they said, oh, my ancestors protect me from everything. That's all I need. And I said, oh, no, they can't protect you from everything. They can warn you about pretty much everything, but they're not powerful enough to protect you from everything, because their spirits, like jinn, are the most, among the pantheon of spirits, they're the most powerful. And so in my tradition, like an Orisha would be considered as a jinn. because they're
Oh.
amongst a higher echelon of spirits. So they can't protect you against a jinn. They can warn you, but then they're not going to be able to protect you. It's just like an ant and a human. You're way more powerful than an ant. Another ant is not going to be able to protect you from killing its friend. You do what you want to do. It may bite you. You might be like, "Ooh, that hurt. That stung." But you'll squash it. And it's the same concept. They're not the most powerful. So what you would do to protect you and your daughter, your family, is to get an ancestral shrine. Because your ancestors are always your first line of defense. Always. Meaning that they will defend you to the end. In instances where they can't fend off whatever is coming your way, if you have a connection with them, they can warn you and they can say, you need to go get some higher protection because this is coming, or you're currently being attacked. And we can't fend off this attack at all. If your ancestors could protect you from everything, then what people do against you wouldn't matter. It wouldn't. They'll just be wasting their time. And to protect you, you need something that's greater than your ancestors. There's specific spirits that are warrior spirits that you can get to protect you. So definitely getting a shrine because that'll strengthen your ancestors for certain. Now, those of you who are in ARC, you know the difference between a shrine and an altar. They're not the same at all. But we will kind of intertwine the two words and just say, oh, I have a shrine, and really you have an altar and not a shrine. And so those of you who are new to ARC or just coming in from, the general public, a shrine is something, it's a spiritual tool that has been consecrated. There's specific rituals that are performed to activate that particular shrine. You've done prayers, you welcomed your ancestors or invited them to sit on the seat of this shrine. And your shrine is always going to be made out of nature, out of natural material. And it's a recipe. That's all it is. Specific things, specific items, not just randomly going out in nature and say, oh, I like this rock. I like this branch. These leaves are pretty, blah, blah, blah. There's a specific recipe that is put together. And then there has to be someone who has been sanctioned to activate that shrine. So not just anybody, because a lot of people ask, well, how do I create a shrine? They'll ask for the recipe. I'll give anybody the recipe. I don't care. But there's specific prayers that you have to do, specific things you have to do to invite your ancestors to come, take a seat on this shrine. And there's specific chickens that are needed. And there's a certain order that all of that has to go in because it's all a recipe. It's like making a cake, what it's like. So having that shrine strengthens your ancestors, strengthens your communication with your ancestors. And then ancestralizing your ancestors. Very important to do that because that further strengthens them. And it sends them back home to the world of ancestors. And they can do a better job of protecting you. Because there's specific rituals performed after we transition. And we're actually performing somebody else's rituals. It's not ours. And I argue if it's even a ritual, but I'll just say it's a ritual. Because when you go to a funeral, that funeral, a lot of times, like nowadays, I don't know how it was when my parents were children, were kids, it turns into a sermon about living, how you should live your life. It's not ritual. From the perspective of protecting your ancestors, from the perspective of sending them back home so they can further protect you. That's just inviting people to convert to something, whatever it is. It's what it turns into. And then people will go and say niceties about the person. And then everybody go and eat. We'll go and bury them and they go and eat. And that's pretty much it. So it's very important that they're ancestralized, because that you're not just protecting, they're part of your family. And so that's how you protect them, because they're prayers for their safe journey. There's a whole bunch of things that happen during ancestralization. And then getting some type of spirit that will protect you. And sometimes you will get, depending upon where you are, sometimes you'll get a talisman and black medicine. Sometimes you'll just get black medicine and that's it. And the black medicine, you eat it, you say the name of the spirit, you tell the spirit to protect you, blah, blah, blah. So, you'll be instructed on what you need to say. And then you get black medicine periodically. Like that particular spirit will tell you when it's time to eat some more black medicine. You just eat it periodically. And that's it. That's how you begin the process. And that's how you further protect you and your family. So that's how that happens.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Wanzaligu, what you got?
Good morning. I wanted to ask, can you elaborate a little more on the protection, the pre-conceptual protection, like for children who are not born yet, rituals that are done, or even just kind of go into that process a little more, and why it is that someone would seek to undermine, an unborn soul before they come into the world, or, is that connected to some type of generational curse type situations? Can you just elaborate a little more on those topics?
Yes, absolutely. So the things that you can do prior to conception is go have a divination. That's the most important thing to do. And during the divination, you want to tell the elder that you and your husband, you and your wife, whomever, are planning to conceive. And so you tell them that you want protection for that child. You want to tell them that you want to have successful conception. Because there are things, and there are things that people will do or can do to keep you from conceiving. Also, those of us who have had abortions, your ancestors could be upset with you. Or that child that you aborted could be upset with you. And they could be preventing you from conceiving. Because that's abortion is really, it's a taboo. And so you may be attempting, want to conceive, you can go and see 1,000 different specialists, and they will all tell you that, your womb is healthy. They can go tell your husband, his sperm are healthy, his sperm count is high, but you cannot conceive. And a lot of times that is a result of something happening spiritually. And what I've seen two different scenarios. The women and men also who've had abortions. Sometimes we grapple in our culture with, when does life begin? Life never ended to begin. We say, oh, at conception or at this point, that child is already living. So when you conceived, nothing magical happened and the child just was created. Nah, the child was already there. And that child only knows you as his or her parents. So what happens is when you go out and you take the morning after, well, that may be different because you're doing it the morning after, so conception really hasn't taken place. But there's something else that women can take maybe a week later or something like that. But nevertheless, that child only knows you as the parents. And so that child will cling to you. And I've seen children wrapped around their parents' legs. Those of you who have children or been around children, nieces, nephews, whomever, you ever see, like if you come home or you go visit them or whatever, they'll run up to you and like wrap their arms around your legs. That's how it looks. And you'll start walking and they'll look up at you and laugh and you'll be dragging them along the way. That's exactly how it looks. And there are many of us who are dragging a whole bunch of children. And the child doesn't only cling to the mother, it clings to the father also. So there's men and women walking around here dragging a whole bunch of children. Some of them are dragging one, some dragging none. But that child will sometimes a child is confused as to what happened. Why haven't I come yet? Did my parents love me? Did they abandon me? Why would they do this? And they may become upset. And they will stand in the way of you conceiving. But we take abortion as like a joke. Oh yeah, it's like just casual every day, which it is every day. But we don't understand the spiritual implications. All we think about is, from a selfish perspective, ooh, I'm in college. Ooh, I got a career. Ooh, I ain't ready. Ooh, I don't like him. Ooh, I don't like her. Ooh, yeah, baby, have an abortion. Whatever we do, it's all self-serving. And this is going to be like old cliche, but it's not like condemning anybody because I don't do that. But if you're in the abortion market, this is the reality. Just don't have sex. That's simple. I know, we live in a very sexualized culture, but that's the reality of it. Because you have to really begin to understand the spiritual implications that are there. And so you want to have a divination to look and see if there's anything in the way, because that may be in the way. You may have done something. This woman, and some of you heard me tell the story before. This woman had a sex change operation, and her ancestors became angry with her. Because there are specific children that she was supposed to bring into this world. So they became angry. There's another case, this woman was selling her eggs. That's a taboo. Don't sell your eggs. Those are your eggs. Your eggs are not for sale. But she did it to get through college. Because apparently selling your eggs it pays good money. So she graduates, she's about 30, in her early 30s, gets married, ready to start a family. She cannot conceive at all. Went to every specialist you can imagine. Her womb is healthy, her husband's healthy. No reason why they should not be having children. So something happens, probably her ancestors guided her to have a divination done. And doing the divination, the elders saw where she sold her eggs and said, that's the problem. That's why you can't conceive. And so there are specific rituals that need to be performed to get all of that cleaned up. And once those rituals were performed, and the rituals are like appeasing your ancestors, apologizing, blah, 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 all of that stuff. Not just going and saying, I'm sorry. There's a ritual that's performed. So I don't want y'all to go and be like, oh, I'm sorry, and think that's it. There's a specific ritual that needs to be performed. And the moment that ritual was performed, she conceived in like a month or so. So that is why it's important before you conceive to go have a divination done, to look and see. Or there could be someone, your ex. I've seen this on the side of women and men, your exes. Of course, they're your exes for a reason. We all get that. But they don't want you to be their ex. They don't want you to go on and have a family, even though it ain't working for whatever reason it's not working. And so they'll go and see an elder to taint your womb. So you cannot conceive. Or you're constantly having miscarriages. Or it could be somebody who's just jealous, who just doesn't like you. And so it's important to go and take a look to see whether or not the pathway is clear. And then do some things to make sure the pathway stays clear. But it could be, as soon as somebody finds out you're pregnant, be like, what? Oh, no. And they just go on the attack. And they will not consider, primarily because of our conversations here about, in the West especially, about conception. I don't know what it is in other places. They don't consider that as being a life that they're taking. We're just very cavalier about abortion, all that stuff. So they don't consider it as a life. That's why they'll do it to an unborn child. They don't even consider it as an unborn child. There's no consideration around that. Because it's all self-serving. And when you do things that are self-serving, you're blind to everything else outside of whatever that is that's self-serving for you. Everything else is just irrelevant. Just is. Totally irrelevant. So yeah, so that's why like that is so important to do that. But the beautiful thing about this conversation is that like now you know. It's not about what you did yesterday. It's about what you're going to do tomorrow. Because we've all done things yesterday that was a violation of all kind of stuff. We all have. Me too. But what are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to do in the next hour? That's the only thing that matters, not that other stuff. Not that. Mm-hmm. Let me see. Gonzalo, I think there's another question in there that I didn't answer.
Yeah. Okay, so I've heard that there are things that happen that there are things that happen in the process of a soul a soul or a spirit or an ancestor coming back, and throughout that process there's rituals that are done to make sure that spirit who will eventually be in flesh, there's rituals that's done to make sure that transition happens smoothly. And there's like forces. I don't want to use the word forces, but there are people who have various motivations to make sure that these types of things are unsuccessful. For example, I've heard that in certain traditional settings, there are political families, or there are families who are connected politically within that particular group. And there are basically people who will do dark magic to make sure that certain individuals do not incarnate. These are things that I've heard, and so that was kind of like the second part of what I was inquiring about. These things are supposedly done because there are rival families or factions or what have you, and so I was just wondering if you could. That is the second part of what I was asking.
Yes. Oh, excellent question. There are definitely rituals that can be done to keep a specific spirit from reincarnating. Because there are rituals you can do rituals to see who's coming. There are rituals performed to see the purpose that this particular offspring will serve. And so if you can see that, you can do a ritual to stop them from coming. You just can't. And when you said that, it brought up something for me that I think will bring it, closer to home. Out of all of these, think about this. Out of all of these great leaders that we've had in this country, African descent. All their offspring are just, and their grandchildren, they're not even close to that caliber at all. And the moment one comes or has come who shows any signs of being them, they're killed, like Malcolm X's grandson. Because they know that that type of force is a disruption. And if you look in like the King family, it's chaotic. They've gotten a lot of things worked out now, but you know, I know people who are close to that family. And it's chaos. It's not chaos for the sake of chaos. It's chaos because somebody said so, or somebody put that there. So you look at all of these people over history, over time. They know when someone shows up, it's obviously what's in their bloodline. In the same way, you may have people who are great singers, like the Braxton sisters, they all can sing. Or, you know, you take Whitney Houston's family, tons of people in there can sing, even better than she can sing. Because all of that is passed down. That's the medicine they carry. And to be a revolutionary, to be a great leader, is something that is not by happenstance. That is in your bloodline. That is why someone will say, you may have a divination done, and they will say, ooh, you are of royal bloodline. That means that you come from a long line of leaders. That's all that's saying. That's the medicine you carry. That's all they're saying, period. And you inherit that. Not in your DNA, it's in your bloodline. That's spiritual. Goes way beyond DNA. And so, yes, there people will perform rituals. The rituals are performed here in the West to keep leaders from rising. There's even a government document. I forgot the name of the document. You can go and pull it up. And they clearly said, it clearly reads that they do not want a leader to rise from the Black community. Because that's trouble. So yeah, those things, you know, they happen because you're a threat. You're a huge threat, and so that's why it's important to have protection. And especially in that aspect, be protected. And from a spiritual perspective, you're invisible. Like people can't see you because of course, whomever's running the show, they do spiritual work. You know what I mean? You're not going to control the world just off of pure force and might. It's not going to happen that way. It just doesn't. It does not happen that way. So yeah, good question, Gonzalo. I hope that answered all your questions.
Yeah, that was good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. You're welcome. You're welcome. Let me see. Tiffany, what you got?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, everybody. Good early afternoon, morning, something like that. I was going to ask, well, you kind of answered the question, but then I had a situation where, like years before I had kids, and maybe a year before I got married, and I was in Christianity at the time. I don't really know what the lady saw, but she did a prayer with me. We prayed about my children long before I had kids, and it was like she could see that there was going to be like some challenges. And with my first pregnancy, my daughter, she came at 28 weeks. She came very early. And I just literally went into labor. I wasn't having any complications or any problems. And then with my second child, I had to have literally shots every week in order to cause me not to go into labor. So I don't know, like, I guess I'm just curious about, like, putting those pieces together makes me feel like there were some things possibly done that I was unaware of when I was, in process of having kids, I guess is the question.
The question is, was there something done in the process of you having?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, that was the question. Moving around.
Oh, you want me to start divining this morning, huh?
Oh, I'm sorry, Chief. I'm just a little curious. Oh, goodness. I don't mean to be the problem child this morning.
You have a son, right?
Yes.
Your son, yes, but it was unsuccessful.
Okay.
Because whatever was done, I can see it's clear. Whatever was done was weak, or it wasn't done properly, or something like that.
Okay.
There was something missing from what was attempted.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So your son, yeah.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah. Okay. What else you got?
Wow. Thank you for that.
Chief,
1 second.
okay, because I'm in the car and I can't raise my hand on my phone.
Okay,
Thank
I'll get you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Tiffany.
What you got? You need me to come right back?
Wow.
So Tiffany.
Okay, I'll do it.
Her toes said. Bye.
All right, Tiffany.
Yes.
Tiffany?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You guys hear me? I'm sorry.
Do you have a like an aunt or something like that in your family that doesn't like you?
Do I have an aunt that doesn't like me?
Yeah. Doesn't care for you much. And she looks like she's on your father's side. That's how she
The
looks.
only aunt on my father's side that I know is named Alikia. My dad is an only child with his mom. She didn't have any other children besides him. And the only sister of his that I actually know and have had any interactions with would be Alikia.
What about great aunts or something like that? Because there's somebody, there's a
Um,
woman that doesn't care for you.
Anne is his mother's sister, and she has another sister, Bertha, that is still living, but the rest of her sisters are deceased. And the only other sister that I ever met was Shirley, and she's deceased.
Did any of them like treat you badly or something? Like kind of ignored you even or something like that?
You said, did any of them teach me what? I'm sorry.
Treat you badly or ignore you or something like that? And I'm
Um,
sorry, I didn't mean to divine this morning, but she got my brain on that thing. So they start getting information. So just excuse me. When I get information, I have to say what it is.
okay. The only one that I would say that I could think of that would treat that I've had not like great exchanges with in recent times would have been Anne, but that was would have kind of been around the time that my grandmother passed away. Now he does have an aunt. I have an aunt Eunice, but she's transitioned, and she never treated me badly.
We have to talk about this offline.
Okay. It's getting interesting. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that, everybody. Thank you for your patience.
Okay. All right, what else you got?
That was basically what is there like specific rituals that you can do because of, now you have different knowledge than you had before. What I heard you say to the other young lady was basically just to continue the work, and like for me personally, to try to get your kids to start doing the work as quickly and as soon as possible is what I was thinking. That makes the most sense to kind of help them learn about protection.
Okay, hold on. Time out. You need to go get a pen and some paper. I gotta give you.
Okay. I'm trying to find a pen. Okay, got a pen. Okay, I'm ready.
Some rice, some red beans, and black beans.
You said rice, red beans, and black beans?
Yeah. 2 red kola nut. 3 hot charcoal.
3 hot what? I'm sorry.
Charcoal, piece of charcoal. Hot.
Okay. Okay.
And an old bone.
You said in a what?
Old bone.
Old bone. Okay, does it matter what animal the bone is from?
No, just an old bone.
Okay.
You need to. So basically, and you've done the rituals with charcoal, right? The yars with charcoal before.
I've done the good luck spirit with charcoal before. I haven't done oh, you know what? I did do the yar with charcoal, but I don't remember the steps, Chief. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll go through the steps, but I I don't want to take up too much time because
Right.
they
No, understand.
won't let me walk away from this. So
Okay.
anybody, if you ask me a question about divining, I'm gonna my mind is gonna go there, and then
Okay.
they're not gonna let me go until I give you what you need. Okay?
I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize. What it is. Like, so take all the ingredients except the charcoal and put them in a bowl somewhere. You want to take the cola nut and you want to split them down the seam.
Okay.
All right, now take the other take the 3 pieces of charcoal, make sure they're hot.
Okay. Okay.
Second. You want to pray, take the first charcoal and you want to pray against, I don't know who this woman is, but this is a woman in your family who, the best way I can say this is somebody has prayed against you. I don't know who she is. And it could be, it wasn't something that happened like recently.
Okay.
It happened back some time ago.
Okay.
And you want to pray against anything, you want to pray against whatever she has done. To impact your life in a way that doesn't work, in a way that doesn't work. That doesn't have your life flow as smoothly as it should flow.
Okay.
This happened when you were probably about 7-ish.
Okay.
An image of you, looks like you're about that age. I don't know. But anything that she did against you, wanted to be extinguished. You wanted to be removed.
Okay.
And you want to say that you want anything that has already been done against you that has caused your life not to work. You want that to be want it to be restored or repaired or something like that. That's what they're saying.
Okay. Okay.
And you want to pray, and then add your words that you've been doing this long enough to know how to add whatever you need to add to that.
Okay.
Second charcoal, it's going, and you know while you're speaking, while you're doing your prayer, you're slowly pouring water on charcoal.
Right.
Yeah, but don't pour so much that it goes out before you finish speaking.
Okay, gotcha.
Second charcoal. You wanna pray against women in your family. 'Cause I just see a bunch of women. That's all I see is women, 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 women.
Okay.
You're gonna pray against the women in your family who are enemies.
Okay.
And you want to say that anything that they have done against you, anything that they're currently doing against you, anything that they will do against you in the future, that you want all of those things to them.
That I want all those things to be done to them.
Turned.
Okay.
Or you can say give them their own troubles.
Okay.
Because giving somebody their own troubles is the same as sending whatever they sent to you back to them because of the
Got you.
troubles they sent to you. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, give me. And then you wanna talk about you want to say something around when they think about doing anything against you or your children, your husband, whomever. You want to give them forgetfulness.
Okay.
And then add whatever else you need to add to that.
Okay, got it.
And the third charcoal, you want to pray against any harm that will come to children, future generations, especially the boys.
Okay.
They're pointing at all these little boys. And this goes like throughout the totality of your family.
Okay.
But it's for the boys and the girls, but they're specifically pointing at the boys.
Okay.
There's something coming. It's already there. To make them docile or to emasculate them or something like that.
Yeah.
You want to address that. And you want to tell them that this is for future generations and current generations. You want that to be removed so that those boys can be men.
Okay.
And then you can add whatever else you want to add to that.
Okay, got it.
Now, once you do that, you want to take the charcoals, when they're cool, put everything in a bowl, kind of mix it up together.
Okay. Okay.
All right, give me a second.
Okay.
And you want to specifically pray. I don't know why they just keep pointing. This one they're pointing at you want to specifically pray for the women who are ancestors.
You said the women what? I'm sorry.
Women who are ancestors, you want to specifically pray for them.
Okay.
Pray for their safety.
Okay.
You want to pray around, because they're showing that these women, like, they carried stuff with them.
Oh, okay.
And you want to pray that the things that they carry into their transition into the spiritual realm.
Okay.
You want to pray that the things that do not serve them are not impacting current generations. Does that make sense?
Oh, wow. It makes complete sense to me.
They carried they carried a lot.
Yeah.
And it's not burdensome, it's emotional.
Yeah.
I literally feel like crying. It is a lot. You don't want that to impact those current and future generations.
Gotcha.
But when you do the ancestralization, it'll cleanse them of that. So
Okay.
it'll take a lot of that off. Because they will. This is what they will no longer have to be someone they're not. I don't know why that's what they said. They keep saying.
Okay. I get that.
Yeah. Now, you want to take once you do that, and then you can add other things to that prayer.
Okay.
Yeah, you can add other things to it. Whatever else you need to add to it.
Okay.
But that other portion is definitely for those ancestors.
Okay.
And then say something about your grandfather and your grandfather's father, those men, the uncles, and whomever. Pray for them. They specifically pointed at them also.
Okay.
Because there's something in that with those men, like they should have stood up for, but they didn't. That's what they keep saying.
Okay.
Something that they should have stood up for, but they didn't. And it's been like ongoing. So pray for that.
Okay.
And then that's it. And now take that. Divide it into two bowls. Take one to a black ant nest, and take the second one to a crossroads. When you get to the crossroads, before you dump the contents in the middle of the crossroads, you need to say something to the effect of whatever those women are dealing with that is impacting current generations and will impact future generations, you want those things to not be able to find or to find your the children.
Okay.
Meaning, because at the crossroads, see, one of the things the crossroads represents, among many things, is many directions.
Right.
If someone says you can't find something, that means that it doesn't know what direction you're in, doesn't know where to go to find you. That makes sense?
It does.
Right. And you don't want those things to find your children, your nieces, your nephews, cousins, whomever, the future generations. You want those things to miss them.
Okay.
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 You want to pray about that, and then you can dump that in the middle of the crossroad. And then you can add something else to that if you want, but that's the main thing.
Okay, gotcha.
And that's it.
Thank you.
Do that on a Thursday.
Okay.
All right, they let me go because they will.
Okay.
I was trying to move on. They wouldn't even let me talk to you about it offline. They were like, nope.
Oh. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. You're very welcome. You're welcome. All right. We'll go Renee, and then we'll do Shakura, and then we'll do everybody else. Renee Davis. If you're talking, we can't hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I had the Yes. Greetings, everyone. I do have a question. My daughter, she is in her last year of mortuary science. She's been doing clinical work, embalming people. And so I would like to know, how can she be protected against dead people? That's one of my questions. My other question is for myself, because I work with the elderly and dying people. You know, I've seen many people die right there in my presence. And I need to be protected because I had a reading once saying that one of these dead people was walking with me. And I need to know, you know, how do I protect myself against these elderly and dead people who I'm constantly, like I practically live with them. You know? Yeah. So those are my main two questions, Chief.
Okay. Okay, in regards to your daughter, there are things that, like, they're rituals, they're talismans she can get to protect her.
Not sure.
But she has to understand that she chose that field. And if you have an opportunity, matter of fact, in the P1 ancestor class, there'll be a near the end, I'm going to give you all milk rituals to find out the answer to any questions, blah, blah, blah. And remember this, and remind me of this, and then I'll make sure I make concessions for you in class. One of the things I want you to do is I want you to be able to see who you are and who you all come from. Because there's no, if you look If you could take a look spiritually, you will see a long line of like gatekeepers or people who would perform traditional burial services. That's why your daughter's doing what she's doing now. And those people usher people who've transitioned into the other world. They are the ones who perform the ancestralizations, who perform the burial rites. And they showed, and the reason I'm saying that is because they when you mentioned your daughter, I saw an image of her being unsatisfied in what she's doing because she's gonna feel like there's more, like there's something else that she should be doing, like what she's doing is incomplete. But she may not be able to put her finger on what it is exactly. And what it is she should be ushering them into the world of ancestors. And when you do the milk ritual, I'm going to have you to take a look so you can see how many generations of that medicine has been passed down. It's medicine you carry.
Oh, okay.
You would be like those women who come to the house and pray. And we used to do that up until maybe the early 70s or something like that, mid 70s, where somebody transitioned, they would go to the home. And this is all traditional. You can go to Ghana right now and see the same thing happening. The women would go to the home of the person who transitioned and pray all night long. There's specific prayers that they do. Like you come from a long line of those and men who will perform whatever task the men perform. So you come from a long line of those people. So the thing to do is to get protection. Definitely, that's the thing to do. And one of the things that you can do, this is what I would do first. Every morning that you get up, you set and this is for everybody should be doing this. You set the context for your day. And for you, when you set the context for your day, one of the things that you're going to do is you're going to tell your ancestors, okay, this is another day. Y'all know what I do for a living. I'm around these people. And so you tell them that you want them to ward off any spirit that comes to you or that attempts to follow you. You don't want them following you. Chima, tell them to go away. Send them back home, wherever just tell them to leave. And the more you do this work and you strengthen your ancestors, the better equipped they are to just ward them off. They should be able to handle that. Because they're just, they're just other ancestors following you. It's not like it's a jinn or something like that. They should be able to handle that one. And just tell them to send them away. Send them to their families. Because they will follow you because of the medicine you carry. They see you. They know who you are. They're very clear about that. And so that's why they'll follow you. Because when they do that, all they want is help They just want to go home. That's all they want. They don't want nothing else. Or sometimes they want you to deliver a message to somebody, but generally they just want to go home. And that's why it's so important for us to ancestralize our ancestors. It's so important to do that, so they can stop wandering in between this world and the ancestral realm. They're just hanging out, chilling, and they should be home. That's where they should be. But nobody's in place to perform those rituals for them. And so we have hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of ancestors who just kind of hanging out.
Chief, how do we know if someone is a jinn or a dwarf? Can people be jinns and dwarfs?
I'm gonna do a class on that. Oh, you recommend? Yeah, matter of fact, I was talking to you. Yeah. I'm gonna do a class on that. I'm gonna a workshop on that one. Yeah, you can. There are ways to find out. So yeah, you can be. But yeah, I'll do a workshop on that one. Not sure exactly when, because we have a list of. I'll add it to the list. That'll come.
And Chief, another question. How do we get out of the bondage that's undermining our people? I mean, our leaders primarily. And I suppose we're the vanguards, so we have to ancestralize. We have to ancestralize our ancestors, like you said, because I'm really, what's going on with us as a people, because we don't deal with our ancestors. I know it's one of the major problems.
Excuse me.
Are destroyed.
Tell me which, this one right here, 2%.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, our people are destroyed for lack of knowledge and how we treat our ancestors. So my question is, how do we get, because what you were saying earlier about our leaders and the bond, they want to keep us in bondage. They want to keep our ancestors in bondage. How do we prevent that?
Yeah, well, so we have to start from the ground up. There have been many attempts, but we've started kind of from the top, or attempted to start from the top without a foundation. We have to reconnect with our ancestors first.
Okay.
They are our first line of defense.
Yes.
We have to strengthen them.
Yes.
And then we have to begin the process that all of that begins the process of cleaning up our bloodlines.
That's true.
And when we have those things clean, when we have that connection, at that point, it's easy. Because we'll know, we'll actually have a level of protection. We'll know what to do, what actions to take to protect our families, to protect the families of our friends and of our leaders and all of those things.
Ashe.
And to one of the things I left out to one Zalagu's point was question about well, I didn't leave it out because his question was a little different, but just to add on to his question about you have certain people who will undermine the birth of a child, something like that, or who will prevent it. There are families who are prayer families, and all they do is pray.
Ashe.
For leaders, for warriors, for whomever it is. And they'll pray for those families, for the protection of those families. And so that's something that's missing. and they will perform whatever those specific rituals are to protect those families, to protect the bloodline of those families. All of that stuff is in place.
Ashe.
And we have to get back to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of what has us in our current state.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see, I see people who come from that bloodline all the time. And some of you see those people. But the usage of their medicine is not even, like, they're not even using 1% of it.
Mm.
Not even 1%. And you see some of those people in church. There's not all, so everybody who claims to be a prayer warrior is not. So we all know that. You know, some people be praying and they repeated them. They'll pray for 20 minutes, and out of them 20 minutes, they repeated themselves 19 minutes out of the 20. And they just reworded what they were saying. That's all they did. And those people, they're just good talkers, basically.
Mm.
But you have those people who will pray and they will not repeat themselves. That's one way you can tell, because they're being directed by spirit, and spirit is not going to remix what they tell them to say, so they can say it differently. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's how we do that.
Okay. And the best way I can help my youngsters, because they're all adults, is to use the bowl and the water and start propitiating our ancestors the way you taught us. Yeah, because my daughter, she just asked me, I've been trying to get her on a spiritual path for so long, for so many years, but she just asked me this past week to help her, on a spiritual path. And I'm just so glad that I'm here, because I have different ways of pouring libations, for instance.
Yes.
But now I know that this is a very good way from our ancestral, our grandmothers, our great grandmothers, and my children can learn that way, how to use the bowl and propitiate. So I can teach them everything that I'm learning, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
and one of the things that you can do, you can tell your ancestors to go and to sit on their grandchild, to sit on your, and tell them to always point her in the direction that is for her good, or the direction that is on her, that will lead her on her path, and to always guide her in the direction of righteousness.
Ashe. Thank you so much.
That. Okay, you're welcome.
I love that. Thank you.
Welcome. All right, Shakura, what you got?
Greetings, everyone. Hi, Chief.
Greetings.
Just quickly, you had mentioned probably 20 minutes ago about the bloodline and the DNA. Can you please elaborate a little bit more on that so I can put that down in my spirit, because it's still just a source of confusion.
Okay, so
thank you.
What I mean by bloodline, so when I say bloodline, I'm speaking from a spiritual perspective. When I say DNA, I'm speaking from a physical perspective.
And okay, that in itself is the difference.
Yeah.
Period. Oh, okay. I just wanted to be clear. That's all. I appreciate it.
Because you can come into this world with 50% DNA from your mother, 50% from your father, right? And that will make up your physical appearance. There's some spiritual things there also, but I'm just going to make it simple. but you are going to come into this lifetime through one of those bloodlines, not both. You're going to descend from either your mother's side or your father's side. And then that branches off into whatever bloodline. But you're going to descend from one or the other. But from a genetic perspective, you're a combination of all of them. But from a spiritual perspective, you're only one. You cannot have you can't have a mixed race spirit. That's creating something totally new. No. You can only have a spirit that descends from a specific bloodline. So you can be someone who classifies themselves as, for example, African American. And I don't know, their grandfather was white. Their personal classification their personal classification can be something other than what they are. So they can classify themselves as African American, but they could have descended down through their grandfather's bloodline. So technically, they would be European.
Wow.
So it's the rabbit hole is deep. And I've seen people, this woman came and she wanted, this is the first time I recognized this. She wanted to start practicing within an African spiritual system. So I was sitting there, I was divining, and just to kind of, when people say that, I look to see what that life looks like for them. And I kept being pointed in a direction of Druidism. And I was like, what in the world? I said, no, she's Black. But they kept pointing over there. And come to find out, her mother is European. And she came down through her mother's bloodline. That's why an African spiritual system would not work for her. And they kept pointing at Druidism. Because every spiritual system that has been created was created specifically for the people who practice it, or where it originated from. Those systems.
So
That's why,
what would you, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead.
What did, you just said something that was, okay, so what determines which bloodline you come through? I think that's the term you used.
What determines it?
Yeah, you said she came through her mother's.
That's determined. I don't have the answer to that question.
Oh.
Whenever you shoot, whatever, I don't know anything about what takes place, the conversation that takes place before you come here.
Ah. So there is a conversation somewhere.
And why you choose to come through this particular family or mother and father.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's conversations that take place. There's a contract. That's the best way to interpret it. That's why you have a purpose. So your purpose is not something that's arbitrary. You don't just stumble. You don't just get here and just be like, "Ooh, purpose." There's conversations that take place before you even come.
Wow.
And there are agreements that you make before you even come.
Stop it. So I remember seeing a picture. I have a graphic picture that I use in class. And it's what would be the grandmother being pregnant with her daughter, who also has eggs ready for her daughter in her body already. So it showed how, I'm trying to tell the people that I'm teaching about, you know, conception and all of that, how everybody is so connected.
Mhm.
Actually, like you said, before we even know it, there's something going on. So, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just physiology. You know, it has nothing, and that, I'm speaking from a Western perspective where you see the grandmother being pregnant with her daughter inside of her, and the daughter inside of her is already set with her eggs inside of her, and you then therefore have that baby. All three are, you know, it's a trifecta, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. You are very welcome. Give me 1 second before I get to Kara. There was someone had a question. I want to make sure we don't get too far away from that. They typed it in. What was that question? Here it is. Okay, with respect to miscarriages, how will one know if it was natural or spiritual works against you? You have to, a divination will tell that. That'll answer that question that you have, a divination. Is an unborn child considered an ancestor? Absolutely. We're ancestors. We just happen to be in this lifetime. Yes, even if you have a miscarriage, you have an abortion, your child may transition while it's still suckling. Transition, they're ancestors. Yes, they are. In regards to the woman I just spoke about who wanted to practice the African spiritual system, there was no conflict there. Who the divination says she needs to go practice Druidism. There was no conflict. She classified herself as being African American, so there was no conflict. So she looked only in that direction. That's what she looked, based upon how she classified herself and how she lived her life. Doesn't mean she can't live her life that way. She can live her life how she wants. She can classify herself any way she wants to classify herself. But when it comes to spiritual practices, the best thing for her is Druidism. So now there was no conflict. Let me see. Okay, so where would I send a person like that to reconnect? I would. So a lot of the things that, but they'll have to go deeper. A lot of the things around Druidism, you see it in Wiccan stuff. So a lot of that stuff, that's where a lot of Wiccan stuff comes from. However, I used to when I used to train with Malidoma, there was this woman. She was from Great Britain, and she would travel, back and forth between Britain and the U.S. to train with Malidoma. And so she practices Druidism, and she said This is the problem with Druidism. And this is a problem with the Celtic system. This is a problem with all the European systems. Well, let me back up. I'm not going to say all because I don't know all of them. The ones that I know about. The issue is this. The Roman Catholic Church has pretty much dismantled those systems to the point where they've only turned into mythology, legend, fantasy. Like Leprechaun is fantasy, but Leprechaun is nothing but a Celtic version of a candomblé, which is a dwarf spirit. That's all a leprechaun is. But it's their version of that. And so the thing that it's been so dismantled, what is missing for them is the foundation, which would be the ancestral piece. So in that instance, I would point someone to in the direction of building an ancestral foundation, because the ancestral foundation is the ancestral foundation, period. You can come into an African spiritual system and build an ancestral foundation. I was, and there was also a woman, she practiced within the Celtic system. And she made it very clear. She said, oh, I have no desire to initiate into any African spiritual, nothing. She said, I have a Celtic background. And she goes, she travels back and forth to Scotland all the time. And she says, the elders in Scotland who still practice, she said they're struggling to reassemble their spiritual system. And she said the greatest struggle they have is the ancestral piece. They don't know how to reconnect with their ancestors. And so she will come and gain ancestral knowledge and take it back so that they can reconnect. And some may argue, why do that? Meaning, like, why teach them how to reconnect with their ancestors? But we have to understand that until they reconnect with their ancestors, they will never leave anybody else alone. Because that reconnection will preoccupy them. Because there's a lot, when I say there's a lot, there is a lot of spiritual work that needs to be done. A ton. Because I've been in rituals when I trained with Malidoma with white people. And they are, and I'm not saying this because I ain't got nothing against nobody, they are the most tortured souls that you can ever imagine. You have never heard screaming and wailing until you hear them in ritual, as though they are being tortured. To hear someone weep in that way, it just impacts every core of your being. And there's work that needs to be done for them. And if we're going to truly be free and liberated, we need to point them back to their stuff. Because they are just so the most lost, misguided group of people on the face of the planet. That's why when they come into some form of awakening, they will go in and attempt to infiltrate somebody else's spiritual system. And you can, if you ever work with them, you can tell they know it's not theirs. Their interpretation of it shows you that it's not theirs. I've seen them work within African spiritual systems one-on-one firsthand. And even the interpretation of the ritual is different. You will give them a ritual to go perform. And what I mean by the interpretation of it is how you perform the ritual once it's been given to you. It's totally remixed. Totally. Simply because from the systems that I've looked at, I'm always careful how I say this because I never want anyone to think they're greater or better than somebody else, because that's a recipe for disaster. You can just use your stuff and it's just powerful. It's just simple. But out of the systems that I've looked at, our stuff is the most powerful that I've seen. Like I said, I haven't looked at all of them. And it takes, what's the best way to say this? Everybody can't handle our systems because of they're so powerful. And that's why when we venture off into other spiritual systems, whatever that stuff is, we do, whether it's, Druidism, Celtic systems. I see some Black people practice Druidism. It's what they do is what they do. When we venture off into tarot cards and all the stuff that come from these other systems, people are still never totally fulfilled. They're still looking because there's a missing link. Because generally, you are much more powerful than whatever that system is. So it will never fulfill you. You'll always be looking to add on to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you will find in many instances, by the time someone gets to an African spiritual system, they've gone through the gamut. Because you're greater than those systems. Those systems can't hold your medicine. It's like child's play. It's like you're this huge container and somebody puts a teardrop of water in there. It's no impact. And that's why people will, have done, you name it. They practice in those systems. Even dealing with crystals, you will level up to a point when you really get into the fullness of who you are. You will level up to a point where crystals become ineffective. Well, those crystals will actually begin to pull power from you instead of you pulling it from those crystals. That's not really your stuff. But you have to get who you are to understand all of that. You have to get who you are. And once you get that, then you can actually begin to make a difference. But I mean, I don't mean get who you are from the perspective of, oh, like knowledge. Oh, I understand. Oh, okay. Nah, getting who you are is practicing who you are. That's getting who you are. That's what that is. But it, sometimes it takes you going through all these modalities to get to where you need to be. And some people choose these other modalities because they're considered as being safe. I'm putting quotes around that. Because when you get to our stuff, it's deep. It takes everything out of the realm of fantasy and makes it real. If half y'all saw somebody walking across water, y'all would run. And y'all be talking about the second coming, whatever you're gonna say. I don't know what it is. And not understand that that's part of your stuff. People today walk across the sea. It's well documented. It says you'll never hear about it because that gives you a window into who you are. There are people to this day who levitate. You never hear about it because that's a window into who you are. That's empowerment. They're clans or they're groups of elders who fly at night and meet at a predisclosed location. And one of those elders ended up in the living room of a friend of mine's. This is a funny story. Ended up in the living room of a friend of mine's home in the middle of the night. He comes from a traditional praying family. And he said his uncles, he said they were doing rituals and said they were burying things in the yard, just all around the yard. And he was a child. He's like, that's just what they do. And he said one night, they just heard somebody crying. And so everybody got up like, what the heck is that? So they went in the living room and there was this woman standing in the middle of the living room floor, naked, crying. And so he said, his uncles, like, who are you? Where'd you come from? She was like, I'm lost. And the moment she said that, they knew who she was. And they said to her, he said, his uncle said, don't you know that our house, our home is a no-fly zone or something like that? Because when she flew, because the rituals they did was to keep people from flying over their home. And so when she flew over the home, I guess a portal, vortex, whatever was created, it sucked her into the house. And she was lost. And so, of course, they sent her on her way. And so she went outside and she left. I don't know if she started flying again. I have no clue. But that's our stuff. And when you start getting deep into our stuff, it takes it out of the realm of Harry Potter. You get so far out of fantasy, and you're like, whoa, this stuff is real. Looking into a bowl of water, seeing what's going on wherever is real. My elders do that today. It's not fantasy. Far from that. But anyway, I'm getting off topic a little bit. Let me see. Give me 1 second. Let me do probably one more of these questions, and then I'll go back to you all, and then we'll continue. Da, 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 da. Okay. Let's see. How do we protect ourselves against jinn? We'll get to that. But matter of fact, I might as well talk about that now because that'll kind of lead us into the next segment, which is simple. Answer that question. How do you protect yourself against jinn? By using other jinn to protect you. That's really how you protect yourself against jinn. You have to use other jinn to protect you against those jinn. So you get protection. There's rituals performed to protect you from other spirits. And usually you need protection against other spirits. This is the mass majority of the time. If a spirit is bothering you and making your life just uncomfortable, probably somebody sent that spirit to you. More than likely. That's what happened. It's not often that, we're just walking down the street and a spirit is like, uh-oh, here she come, wait on it, poof, and they just jump on you. Just doesn't really happen that way. Not saying it never does, but that's not the most common thing. That happens very rarely. Usually, spirits mind their own business. They ain't a bit more worried about you no more than the man in the moon. They just do because they have other stuff to do. We have to understand that spirits have lives. They have children. They have families. They get married. They have other stuff to do. As opposed to sitting down waiting for us to turn the corner so they can jump on us. In the same way we have lives. They have specialties. They have medicine in the same way we carry medicine. They have skill sets. Every spirit can't do everything. I have certain spirits I can only use, for certain illnesses that people have. And other spirits, I can't use them for that because that's not their thing. It's no different than as humans, we have skill sets. Some people can sing, some people can't. But everybody can try to sing, and everybody can do that one. But whether or not you're going to be the top artist of the year, nah, probably not. You'll sound like, what's this dude's name? Is it William Hung? Whatever. The guy from the first season of American Idol. I'll never forget that. He was horrible. You'll sound like him. So the best way to protect yourself against jinn is really to have a divination done to find out if it is actually a jinn. It could be something else, could be a dwarf, who knows? And then find out what needs to be done to protect you from that particular jinn. But overall, I would suggest starting out, you'll start out with like a base level protection. And then as you mature spiritually, an elder will give you additional protection that's more powerful. Because we're all babies. And you can't give a baby top level protection if they're not mature. Because you could be someone out in the world causing problems. And then as a result of you causing problems and you having like this upper echelon level of protection, people dying, literally. Because those spirits are out where they will protect you. But you're actually the cause of all of it. And so you have to be spiritually mature enough to handle that. You have to be able to handle and have dominion over your temperament. It's very important. If you don't have dominion over your temperament, you'll probably never get past base level protection. Because you can go out and somebody can make you upset or do something that upsets you, and you point at them. They ain't gonna make it home. Or you say something like, oh, you'll see. They're not gonna make it home. That's because you don't have control over your temperament. And so you'll stay at like this base level protection. So if anybody bothers you, you know, that protection may or may not be able to defend you. It'll probably ward off probably 80% of stuff. And then if you get upset, you just get upset. Nothing happens. So yeah, that's how you protect yourself against jinns. But like I said, they're not out to get you. So I hope you wasn't thinking like that. I don't think you were, but I just don't want people to leave people with the impression that these spirits are sitting around the corner waiting to jump on you. Nah, they got lives. They doing other stuff. They got churn to take care of. God dog it. So anyway, let's see. Kara, what you got?
All right, I got 3 things.
Mm.
So when we was talking in the beginning, with protection, and you kind of, people just like, why do people don't like you and start to attack you? Is it like, is there a reason behind it? Or like I've experienced this where like someone's done nothing to me and I just don't feel comfortable around them. Why does that happen? And when you answer those 2, I'll remember the last one.
Okay. So the first one is, who knows what's going on in the brains of people? Some people will just do things just because they have the power to do it. That's just how crazy some people are. They'll do it because they can. And for no other reason outside of that. Sometimes, people may not want to see you succeed. You have some people who feel that way. And it's not personal to you. Not personal. That's all about them not being able to succeed. That's what it's about. It's really about them. But they don't want, sometimes they don't want people to be ahead of them. And I'm gonna give you a prime example. And that shows up in the smallest way. Small. Consider this, and I want everybody to look at their lives. If you're driving down the road, somebody puts their blinker on to get over, and you speed up, you're probably one of those kind of people. You don't want anybody to be in front of you. You don't want anybody to be ahead of you. All the person did, literally, this is how crazy we are as human beings. If you break it down, only thing the person did was flip their blinker on to get over. They didn't try to stop you from doing nothing. You still driving down the street and you probably didn't even have to slow down. But you don't want anyone to be above you. You don't want anyone to be ahead of you. And it shows up, like I said, these things show up in the smallest way before it shows up in a big way. But if you're that type of person, consider, if you won't let people get over and they just simply turn their blinker on, I'm not saying they just cut in front of you. They flip on the blinker and you speed up. How does that really impact you? It doesn't. I promise you there's no impact on somebody flipping their blinker and moving over to the left or right lane, whatever lane they're trying to get in. And we'll speed up. Ain't nobody gonna be in front of me. That's how it begins to show up. And the more we don't recognize it, the more it festers. And it goes from being in traffic to being at work. Goes from being at work to impacting your family and friends. That's just not a small thing. It doesn't just that doesn't just happen in traffic and that's it. No. That may be where it began. It probably began way before then. Don't want somebody to have more than you. That's where it starts. But the reality is you're not losing nothing at all. They just succeeding in however they're succeeding. That's it. And you succeed in how you succeed. Life is simple. It's us who make life complicated and complex. We do that. Life is just what it is. Life just sits there like this. It's all it does. And does what life does. It's very simple. Life is very simplistic. So that's the answer to that question. People just do what they do. Who knows? They could not like, I don't know, the fact that you married your husband. I have no clue. But I know that there've been, I know of 1, 2, 3. There's 3 instances I could think of off the top of my head, no 4, I can think of off the top of my head where, now more popping in my mind, just say 3 or 4 for now. That I can think of off the top of my head where someone married someone and these, all of them are women except 1 or 2. But anyway, where the woman married her husband and the ex of the husband, in one instance, who don't even want the husband, don't want him. However, doesn't want him to be happy. Went out. I had 3 instances like this. I think 3 of them popped in my mind. Went out, had a ritual done with the elder, and had the child to bring chaos or bring a spirit into the marriage. And basically the spirit piggybacked on the child. The spirit didn't impact the child negatively. The child was just a carrier. And the moment the child walked in the house, hugged everybody, boom, it was over. The spirit jumped off the child onto the husband or whomever. Because that's who the spirit was intended to impact. And poof, the marriage goes into chaos. All because, whatever. They don't want the other person to be happy, but they don't necessarily want the person. People do all kind of stuff. What's your second question? I don't remember that. Say it again.
I was saying, like, what causes instantly for me? So let's say I came across a lady, didn't know her, she did nothing to me, but I just couldn't, like, I couldn't get with it. Like, she just irritated me. No reason.
Oh, okay.
Why does that happen?
That's easy. More than likely, your star and her star are incompatible. That's more than likely, that's why that happens. Your star and that woman's star are like this. They butt heads. And so your star is this part, I'm just saying this to create a visual. Your star is arguing with her star, and it's going to impact you. They don't like each other. And it trickles down to you. You're like, oh, I don't care for her. But you feel it's not from a jealousy perspective. You feel it in your core. It's something like deep. That's how you can tell the difference. Not some people just walk around, they don't like somebody because of how they dress, or they think they're good, or whatever that is. That's something different. I'm talking about in your instance, it's something that you probably feel like in your core. Like this is deep. I just not her. So that's why that will happen. And did you remember the third question?
Yeah, in terms of when we was talking about the part with the abortions and if those become your ancestors. Now, what if they come right back in future kids? Because that's what happened in terms of when I was.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if they come back, that's fine. And so it's not every instance that the child will be upset or be something like that. It'll happen. But sometimes the child will come right back. That has happened. And sometimes not. Sometimes they'll just stay in this world of sorrow and sadness. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now my other question.
Yes.
When you, with the medicine, the black medicine,
in
terms of the abortion one. So do you speak, how do you go about that? You speak about it, is that supposed to cure it? And then do you have to finish the whole thing? Okay,
so what you do so she's speaking about there's a cleansing ritual that you can do, and you'll get black medicine for like abortion, or it could be a miscarriage, or whatever it is. The black medicine will be made specifically for that. What that will do, what you do in that instance is before you eat the black medicine, you pray over it, and you pray for that child, and you pray for that child's safety. And you can say at that point whatever you need to say. You put the rest of it in your words. Is what you can do. And so that's how you would do that one. Okay? Cool.
Yeah, but how do you know that, okay, so let's say round number, I had 5 abortions, and then how do you know like what spirits have not come back, or if let's say they have come back, and are you praying for all of them, or you just praying for the ones this happened on this date, or it could be more general?
You would pray for all of them, whether they've come back or not, whether they've come back or not. It doesn't matter if they've come back. There's still an impact. So you want to pray for all of it. Yeah, pray for all of it. So yeah. Okay.
Another question.
Yes.
Part 2 to the same thing. So okay, so if you're doing it for all of them, so let's say I have a whole lot of black soap, and it's specifically for that. Not black soap, black medicine specifically for that. Are you
Oh yeah,
supposed to use the whole thing, or do you save it?
you save it. So with the black medicine, you want to use like a teaspoon at a time. So when you make your soup, take about a teaspoon, dump it in the soup, and then as time passes, you will know. It'll be a knowing that you have. Something may be gnawing at you. You may have a thought, what about that black medicine? When you have that thought, you need to go make some. And you just keep doing it until it's gone. But no, you don't take it all at once. So you just take it all over a period of time.
Okay. And that's the one that's specifically for the abortion. Then you have another one that's for something for protection. Can you mix both of them, or they have to have their own separate? And wait, the meat that you use, do you have to bury the bones? Or if let's say I do chicken, can I do chicken cutlets and bypass the whole burying the bone thing?
Yes, you can do chicken cutlets. And yes, if you have black medicine and you use meat that has bones, you have to go bury those bones. Do not throw them in the trash. Bury them. Because those bones should never catch fire. And you'll notice as you all go down this rabbit hole, those of you who choose to go wherever you go, you'll notice that after rituals, you never want the remains of the rituals to catch fire, because then that cancels the ritual. So even if you're bathing in herbs, after you finish bathing those herbs for 7 days, 9 days, whichever you're prescribed, you want to go and bury those herbs in the bush someplace, or take them to a body of water and sink them to the bottom, because you never want them to catch fire. The moment they catch fire, it cancels everything. So yes, you can use cutlets to answer your question directly. Okay, we got a part 3 to that one.
Yes, you didn't answer the first part. Can you
What's the
mix
first?
both the two black medicine?
Yeah. Okay. Did you get it from did you get them from the same elder? I know you did, but you can just answer that.
Okay,
Yeah.
you said I did, so yeah.
Yeah, so you can mix them. Now, let me be whoa. Let me be clear.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure we're on the same road. Now, for you can mix them. That's fine. For example, if you are doing a ritual and something is prescribed for 7 days, and you get another ritual from the elder at the same time, it's prescribed for 9 days, do not mix them, because the number of days are there for a purpose. There's a reason for that. So do not mix them. If they're the same, but you need to check with the elder first. Don't just go off and be like, oh, I got this stuff the same. Let me mix them. You gotta check with the elder to see if you can mix them. But for you, Kara, I know you can.
Okay, but I don't even know how many days for either one of them.
Oh, no, for you, it's just until you finish eating the soup.
So I can just do it for, just one pot of soup and whole
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, and do a teaspoon of each.
Okay. And chicken cutlets, so I don't have to worry about burying bones.
You don't need cutlets. That's funny. Yes, you can do cutlets, so you don't have to worry about the bones.
Perfect.
Now, with some medicine, the bones are very important, because the bones will, not for you, but I'm saying in some instances, the bones will actually strengthen the medicine. So I don't want everybody to think you just go out and just get cutlets. And I know that some of us are vegans or vegetarians. I'm clear about that. One of the things that, and this is kind of off a little bit, but this is what we're talking about. So one of the things we have to understand about doing spiritual work is understanding not the physical, but the spiritual attributes and benefits of eating vegetables in eating meat. We only look at the physical stuff, because we're not spiritual in the West, not as spiritual as we think. You will be told to use a specific type of meat. You'll never be told to use pork, because pigs are not indigenous to Africa. Be clear about that. I can say it 50 million times. Pigs are not indigenous to Africa. So you'll never be asked to use pork, ever. Pigs are indigenous to like Spain, Portugal. The Portuguese, that's who introduced pigs to Africa. But even if you go there today, you're not gonna find pigs. I mean, it's hard to find pork. Nobody eats, pig really. I've never seen a pig farm or seen anybody selling pig in the market. Now, what you will be asked to do is, maybe use like goat, lamb, some type of red meat. You don't have to use large quantities of it, because even within their diet itself, they don't eat a lot of meat at all. If you go and you have a meal and somebody has meat, for example, if somebody has chicken, the piece of chicken you're gonna get is about as big as your thumb. That's the portion you'll get. But anyway, we have to begin to understand the spiritual benefits of eating meat. The most ungrounded people I've ever seen in my life are vegans. They always occur, they just out in the ether somewhere. The thing that grounds you is meat. And if you're going to do spiritual work, you have to be willing to eat meat, not all the time, but to ground you. You don't have to eat it with every meal. So for example, Malidoma, when he divines, he may have sessions where he divines all day long. When he takes his break, he will eat a piece of red meat to bring him back down, because you can't stay out in the ethers. And this is not every vegan. So I'm not saying this for everybody, but a lot of vegans that I come across, they have difficulty getting their point across sometimes. Because it's not a bad thing. They're way up in the spiritual realm. They're just way up there. And a lot of times people don't understand what you're saying. Even though you're clear, they're like, oh, you just talk over people's heads a lot. And you need to have that meat to bring you, to ground you spiritually. Like I said, I'm not saying you go out and you eat a pound of beef, but you need to have that to ground you. Now, Adonis, he's a prime example. He's clear. He has to do that to bring him down, so that when he's divining, people can understand what he's talking about. So it's more than just, we look at it as something physical. But meat is earthy, it's grounding. I hope that made sense. But anyway, that's off topic. But since we kind of brought it up a little bit, the camping conversation, I just thought I would say that. And like I said, you can still classify yourself as a vegan, that's fine. And most vegans look very wet spiritually. They look damp. When I divine for them, they look very damp. And I only say something if that dampness is impacting them. Or I may not even say anything about the dampness. I may just give them a yar to do, because I know the yar is gonna help them with that. But if they ate every blue moon periodically, ate something that's grounding, like meat, it'll get rid of that dampness. It'll bring them back down. Now, even if we're saying that, people who are on the opposite end of the spectrum, who are carnivores, they are so grounded, they don't have an ounce of spiritual nothing. They are some of the most stubborn people you ever want to meet. They are some of the most, they are people who are like the most attached to modernity and the trappings of modernity. Because they're overly grounded. And you can be too grounded in the same way you can be way out in the ethers too much. But you need balance. And balance isn't 50-50. You're always going to come out ahead eating more, fruits and vegetables and grains and blah, 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 than you will meat. And I always say, I've never met a 120-year-old vegan. I can take you to Ghana right now today and introduce you to several elders who are well over 100, and that's their diet. The diet is about like 80-20. 80% vegetables and grains and fruits, blah, blah, blah. 20% of their diet is meat. And they are well in their hundreds and not feeble 100. They look like they're about 70 years old, and they get around like they about 70 years old. And they hold their hands out, ain't nothing shaking. Their hands just as steady as can be. And they're just as coherent as can be. They go to the market. She's transitioned. She was well over 100. She still went out in the bush to get herbs. And those of you who've been to Ghana with me, who go around to the bush, y'all know that that is not an easy task. You will walk 4 miles and not even find the herbs you're looking for. And then you got to trek 4 miles back to the car and then go someplace else. Go to another area where you think these herbs might be. And she could do that. So anyway, that's a different conversation. My thing is, I always go off the diet that my elders eat, because and that my ancestors ate. That's my thing. But anyway, that's that. Okay, Kara, did I answer all your questions? I think so.
Yep.
Okay, great. Donna L., what you got? Donna L.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Alrighty. Wow. Okay, Chief, I want to start with this. This is the most important thing. I have lost practically all my finances. About to lose my home.
Now, one second. Is this in the wheelhouse of what we're talking about today? So to make sure
I'm not even sure. Is this about protection?
This is about protection in the things that we've talked about today. So I want to make sure that we're not going into the space of divination, because we did that earlier and we took like 30 minutes, and I had no problem with that. But I want to make sure that we stay in the wheelhouse and not go into the realm of where I have to divine. Because the moment you say something that causes me to have to divine, I promise you, my brain is going to go to that space.
Okay. I feel like my finances and everything around me is being snatched from underneath my feet. I'm like about to hit the bottomless pit. A lot of it, truly, I feel has to do with my daughter. I was attacked by her. She was throwing glasses at me, lamps, and a lot of things are coming from around her. You know, she had the abortion. There's a lot of things going on, and I feel seriously attacked in my home. I don't feel safe. I had 2 nightmares about her. It's just a lot. Everything that I'm representing, I've pretty much lost everything from the last time we spoke.
So go ahead.
So is that what? Am I on the right level?
I did
Yeah,
get to the class a little late, so let me know if I'm not on the right track, and I understand.
You're on the right level. Look.
Okay. So basically, a lot of attacks are coming towards me. My home doesn't feel safe. She's bringing spirits in and out of here. I can feel them.
Okay, let me address what you're saying, because you're saying a lot. Okay.
Okay.
Nah, y'all not being attacked. Your ancestors are angry. And I think we had this conversation before. That child was supposed to come. When you anger your ancestors, they do whatever they do. Ain't nobody attacking y'all. Your daughter ain't down. That's not what's happening.
Okay.
It's your ancestors are angry because you sent a child back that was supposed to come. The same thing I talked about earlier, the woman who sold her eggs to help pay her way through college. And her ancestors became angry. And they took her womb and locked it down.
So, but why am I?
So when let me finish.
Okay.
Let me finish. Because they're talking to me and you're talking to me at the same time, and that doesn't work. I'm not being mean. I'm just saying when they're talking and then you start talking, it's like it's like it doesn't disrupt the connection, but it's like staticky. That makes sense?
Oh yeah, I understand, Chief. Not a problem.
I'm gonna get to you. I promise you. I'm gonna get to all of that. Just give me a minute. Anyway. So, in a nutshell, they're saying that there's something that you could have been responsible for around your daughter having an abortion. There's a responsibility that they're literally pointing at you and they're pointing at her. There's something that you could have been responsible for. And so they're not attacking you. The best way I can describe what I see is they just pressed the pause button on your life. How about that? That's the best way I can translate what I see. You're not being attacked. When we do things in the physical realm, we have to be sure and aware of the implications that will take place spiritually that will turn around and impact you physically. Does that make sense? I hope I just made sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to get, like, when you have an abortion that impacts you spiritually, it impacts your mood. Some women cry for months. Some women become angry. Some women become numb and walk around aimlessly, like they're in a daze. And what you're seeing from your daughter is the impact from a spiritual perspective that's showing up physically. Abortion is, I talked about it earlier, that is serious. It is not something to play with at all. It is not. And how your ancestors show up and react to that is just how they show up and react to that. There's no guidelines to that. There's nothing that says, oh, I'm going to have an abortion and my ancestors are going to be cool with it, or they're going to be upset, or they're just going to do this or whatever. But we have to always be willing, just as willing as we are to take an action. We have to be willing to accept everything that comes along with that action. In the same way that if we did something that's favorable and we receive favorable results, we gloat in that. We celebrate that. But we are responsible for that. We'll say, look what I did. We want to take all the credit for it. In the same way that we'll take credit for things that we do or actions that we take that bring us favorable results, we have to be just as responsible for actions that we take that bring us results that are not favorable. Be just as responsible. Not saying you have to be in sorrow and all. No, just be responsible. What they're saying is that there's something that you could have been responsible for and not having that abortion happen, that you were not responsible for. That's what they're saying.
Okay, so is it because I drove her to, because I was just like, whatever you do, I drove her to the place to get what she needed.
That could be part of it, but they're pointing at before the end, before you even got to that point. It's way before the end, but that's part of it. I don't know if you told her to have the abortion, not to have abortion. It's your choice. It's your body. I don't know what you told her. You can afford it. You can't afford it. If children cost money. You know, all these conversations we have.
True.
That's what there is to be responsible for.
Okay, so the conversation is what I can see then. Conversation. Oh gosh. Yeah. So by the time I talked to her, I warned her that it wasn't going to be good. She didn't want to, because when you spoke to me the last time, she had not taken any of the pills. She took them after I told her it wasn't a good idea.
Did you say it wasn't a good idea, or did you say that this child was supposed to come here? Which one?
Yeah, I told her both of that. I told her the child was supposed to be here also. And as a matter of fact, I saw a whole YouTube video on a lady who had a child that the child was, wow. She had a connection with her child before her child even got here. And the baby walked up to her one day because they were trying to figure out why her soul was so old. And this was her only child. And the child walked up to her one day. I think the child may have been like maybe 3 or 4. And she's like, Mommy, remember that time when you were really depressed? She's like, I was trying to tell you I'm going to be here. Everything is going to be okay. And she looked at her daughter and she's like, oh my God. She was just wasn't even here yet, wasn't even formed yet. And how did she know this? That she had experienced that depression or whatever that she was dealing with. But anyhow, the child came to bless her. So I even tried to tell her, but a lot of times my daughter doesn't even hear what I have to say because she knows my medicine and she knows who I am. I always dream about it, or spirit always gives me something before something major takes place.
Okay.
And she just shuts me down.
Okay. I'm going to give you something to consider. Consider that she does not know your medicine and she does not know who you are.
Oh, okay. All right.
Consider that. Consider she knows that you can do stuff, but she doesn't know your medicine. That's a distinction. It's two different things. They're not related. Somebody who can do stuff and knowing somebody's medicine is different.
Okay.
And how you language your medicine makes a huge difference. But they're saying there's something that you need to be responsible for, but that's fine. So that's what's going on with that. Now, you need to go to all of your great grandparents, all of them. And they're saying that you need to go to them in a very authentic way. No reasons, no excuses, nothing. You go to them with what is so. You go to them with what you can be responsible for. And they're saying, do not say, but I told her blah, 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 blah. Only what you are responsible for. Because there's something in they keep pointing at conversations.
Yeah.
And you need to point, you need to specify. The things that you told me are not things for you to be responsible for. There's something in those conversations, they keep pointing at those conversations. It's beyond what you just mentioned. You need to be, they're saying you need to be responsible, not from the standpoint of fault, but from the standpoint of being 100% responsible for what happened. Give an example. If I walk out of my house right now and go down the street, cross the street, get hit by a car, guess who's responsible for that?
Myself.
Me. Mm-hmm. Right. You know why you'll be responsible for that? Because this is the important piece. To say you're responsible for it is one thing, but to know why you're responsible for it is something totally different.
Okay.
So I would be 100% responsible, not fault, because I chose to get up at whatever time I chose to get up. I chose to walk in the direction of whatever direction that main street is, and I chose to cross the street at that time. Those are all my choices. I'm responsible for all of that. I'm not a puppet on the string at all. Now, if the person ran the red light and hit me, the fault is on them. And they're 100% responsible for leaving the house, for running the light, blah, 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 all that stuff. And I'm 100% responsible for crossing the road at the time I crossed the road. I'm responsible for that. I put one foot in front of the other. Nobody else did. I can be responsible for that. So it's what can you be responsible for?
Okay.
Because you could have easily said, I ain't take you to get this stuff. You could have easily said that.
It is true. Yes, 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 and no. But by me thinking
No,
of
no,
how.
I want you to back up, back up, back up. Get in
Hmm.
the world of being responsible,
Okay.
not yes and no. You could, it just could have been no. You took her to that wherever she went, Clint, wherever, because you chose to do that. Had nothing to do with whether you wanted to do it or not. You chose to do it. It's a choice. Nobody made you do it. It's like if somebody put a gun to your head and say, tap dance for me. You can't turn around and tap dance and say they made me tap dance. No, you chose to tap dance. It's a choice. So just be responsible for all, 100% responsible in a way that you've never been 100% responsible before. Be responsible in that way.
Can I ask you a question about that? Why is it that my daughter likes to blame me for everything that is going wrong in her life? Her bad choices. Why does she point the finger at me for everything?
You have to ask her that because it's the way that it's her point of view of you. It's her view of you which gives her actions. It's no different than your view of other people give you your actions towards them. No different. It's her view of you, that's all.
But Chief, she wreaks havoc over my whole household. I don't like it feels like she's taken over the whole house. The situations, the energy, the disrespect. She was smoking weed in my face. Why is all these things happening? What do I need to do? Do I need to move on? Can I move on? Or do I have to sit here with her with this disrespect?
Well, okay. So I want to take it out of the realm of disrespect and only look at her actions. Only that. Because when you introduce anything to a situation to describe it, you bring in emotions, because emotions will piggyback on any description of something. And then all you can see is disrespect. And you can never see what's actually happening.
Okay. You told me that before in a way. I vaguely remember that.
Yeah.
When I did the divination for her the first time with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so with your daughter, we talked about like she's angry. We've talked about that. We talked about what she's angry about. And we talked about resolutions to her anger. Until she can get to those things, some of that behavior will continue. And the thing for you to do is to go, and so go to your people. Tell them to sit on her, and we've done this. But one of the things we have to understand is that many times things, like when we go to our ancestors about things, many times things will occur to get worse, but they're not getting worse. Because there are times when, for example, in order to put out a forest fire, you have to create another fire to put that fire out. So there are times in our lives where, in order to get rid of chaos, more chaos has to be introduced to cancel it out. They'll cancel each other out.
Ooh, that's deep. Yes. Yes.
No difference than putting out a forest fire. It's no different. Two fires.
And I was hoping that is what this is that I'm facing with, because I mean, seriously, everything has just dropped from the sky.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm glad that is what it is. So I just got to brace myself.
And she needs to be responsible, whether she will or not. Don't know. She needs to be responsible for the abortion. Okay, we cannot let that slide. She needs to be responsible. Not full of excuses and reasons. Nope, that's not being responsible. Being responsible is saying what's actually so. What is it?
Mm-hmm.
But really, but really being committed to being responsible, really being committed to your family being whole and complete. Because I promise you, her actions are not unique. I promise you, you can see her actions in you. I promise you, you can see your actions in other family members. It ain't unique. It may show up differently, but it's still, the root cause of it is the same. All of this stuff, from what I can see, is rooted. It's rooted in your bloodline. It's being passed down from one generation to the next, and it's gonna keep showing up differently. It's not gonna look the same way because the cultural context is different. The environment is different. So it brings rise to the behavior based upon the environment.
So in other words, I have to be the change that I seek.
Nah, you have to be the transformation. Because change is just more of the same stuff. You can change clothes. A change is like putting lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig, just got lipstick on. A transformation is something totally different. It's something that currently is not seen. In your view, is currently something that doesn't exist. And I'm not a fan, like seeing it, like being the change that I see. What does that mean? Because the more you're around me, the more you'll get. I'm the least fan of cliches that you can ever imagine. Because cliches are nothing but temporary feel-goods. That's all they are. I promise you. Next month, it'll be another cliche that meant the same thing the cliche meant the month before. It'll just be different. We went from Black Girls Rock to Black Girls Magic. It's the same thing. Somebody just got tired of saying Black Girls Rock. So somebody started saying Black Girls Magic.
It's so funny.
We went from kings and queens to gods and goddesses. Same thing. Somebody got tired of saying kings and queens and said, oh, we gods and goddesses. But what impact has that made? None.
Absolutely
it may
not.
impact people on a small level. I'm talking about having a group-wide impact or community impact, global impact. That's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
We all walk around, I'm highly blessed and favored, whatever we say. And we'll go on to another cliche that means the same thing as that. We are people who are cliche kings and queens, God dog it. We will cliche you to death. We don't went from black power to melanin power. What's the difference? None.
Oh wow! I'm trying not to laugh.
There's
Jeez.
no difference.
Hilarious.
This is another cliche. I'm not a fan of cliches. I'm just not. I'm a fan of taking actions.
True. Okay.
I'm a huge fan of that. And that's not to say I take action all the time. I'm not going to say that. No. But when I'm not taking action, I take action. So you have to be committed to the transformation of your family. You have to be committed to that. And until you get committed to that, things are going to keep on going along the way they've been going along. Yeah, there you go, Bakiba, love and light. I don't know, can't nobody describe what no love and light is yet. Anyway, I'm sending you love and light. You ever check on the person you send love and light to? Did you get that love and light I sent you? But those of you who are in these classes, especially when you create your shrines, I will show you how to truly send love and light and what is meant by that, but does not happen. I'll show you how to really do that. And they ain't sitting down, whatever people do. Shoot, I don't know. I never sat down with nobody while they were sending love and light. But, you know, what they say. Anyway, what was I gonna say? But yeah, you have to be committed to that. You got to be. And being committed to it means allowing yourself to get out of your way. Extending grace and mercy to yourself. Extending grace and mercy to your daughter. And that doesn't mean your daughter runs over you. It doesn't mean that. But that's understanding that your daughter is a reflection of you.
Wow.
And you are a reflection of your mother, who's a reflection of her mother, who's a reflection of her mother, it, on down the line. And all you all have done to each other and continue to do to each other is reflect what the other person is already reflecting. Just a mirror to each other. That's all you are. But it shows up different because the environment is different. The cultural context is different. So it doesn't look the same. But the end result is the same. The end result is like that rage. The end result is a lot of dead bodies strolled over the years of your life. They land in the road. Just all over the place, just laid out. Because they have been massacred. And you keep on going, just like your daughter, she gonna keep going. Oh well, they dead, and you just keep on moving. So yeah, you need to be committed. You need to go to your people. You need to talk to them. And you need to talk to them and allow yourself to weep. Not cry, weep. Difference.
Mm-hmm. What's the difference?
The difference is when you're weeping, weeping comes from like one of the deepest places in your soul.
Chief, I had a dream about two people weeping. and it was painful. It was my grandson and my daughter. Those are the two dreams that I had yesterday or the day before yesterday. And as I was expressing it, it was like something when a child is really hurt, their weep is totally different.
Yes. And that is probably why I just got for you that you need to weep. That's probably what those things were telling you. If I was to interpret them, that's probably what I would have come up with.
Exactly. Okay.
But you just have to be committed to that. You're on the right track. You're on the right track. But you have to get out of your way. You have to extend yourself grace and mercy. Very important.
Okay, what do I do about my finances? Just go to them and tell them I have no finances at this moment. I don't know what I'm about to do next, but it's like I pretty much at zero.
Do what I asked you to do and you will see the impact.
Okay. All right.
Because I will always get what is the most important thing for you to do. And in many instances, it is not the most important thing that you think you should do.
Okay.
It's no different than I can give somebody a yard to do. And I promise you, it will take them 6 to 8 months and they'll call me, oh, about that yard. I'm like, what are you talking about? And the yard impacts their life. I want you to be clear about that. It is the greatest impact. And then this happens time and time again. So if anybody on the call is happening to you, I'm not talking about you. It happens all the time. I will give somebody a yard to go and get a mate. They will ride me like a rented mule about them ingredients for that yard. I promise you they will. They will do that yard the next day, by the weekend, whenever, as soon as possible. And that's not the greatest impact on their life, but the things that will have them and have their lives be transformed, the thing that will have their lives normalized. They won't do it. The thing that will bring them relief, people will not do it. They will wait. But you go to God, you get a yard, they doing it that day. They are not wasting time or whatever day is prescribed. If the elder says you have to do it on a Tuesday and it's a Friday, I promise you they're not gonna wait down the road. The first Tuesday they will do it.
Wow.
But we have to become committed to our lives, committed to our families. Because we have to understand, and I know I'm taking up time, but this is just what's coming up. We have to understand that at some point, we are going to be ancestors again. And look at the totality of your family. You want to deal with that as an ancestor? And at some point, our ancestors who are currently in the spiritual realm will be existing in the natural realm. It's just a cycle of life. And do you want them born into your family? I'm not just talking about your mother, father. It could be that. I'm talking about the totality of the family you know. All of it. You want them to be the child of your crazy cousin. And I know all y'all got them cousins go, ooh, Lord, I pity them children. And is it when you reincarnate, is that the family you want to be born into? But you have an opportunity to be responsible for having family that your ancestors and that you are born into that works. I'm not saying it's perfect, it works. We have the opportunity to be responsible for that. Having a family that's protected, we're talking about protection, having a family that's protected, you're born into that protection. How about that? So that's what you're up to. That's why you're on this path. That's what you can be responsible for. That's the thing that will restore your family to its greatness. Restoring your family to its indigenous self. Whatever that looked like in the beginning. Restoring abundance to your family, restoring community to your family. All of that. But we have to be willing to do the work. And doing the work, it's going to look different for everybody. Because everybody's family structure is different. So yeah, so that's that. That is that. What else you got?
Oh, wow. That was a lot right there. That was a lot. That pretty much covers everything. I need to just, I don't know. I guess I have so many things that's weight in the balances that's time sensitive right now. It's just like, I don't know how to move. I feel like my head is all over the place right now.
I just gave you the keys to the kingdom.
Okay.
I just told you how to move. That is the most important thing that you can do, is go to your ancestors about what you're dealing with, about the abortion. Be responsible. That's the keys to the kingdom right there.
Okay.
So don't allow yourself to get into this kind of swirly place, because you do know what to do. And generally, in most instances, when it deals with when it deals with our lives, in most instances, it's never that we don't know what to do. It's whether or not we're willing to do what there is for us to do. Sometimes what there is for us to do is uncomfortable. And then we have those times when we just really don't know. That we're clueless. That happens. But this is not one of those times for you, because I just told you what to do. So do that.
Thank you very much.
Give the space for things to start moving.
Okay. Now there's a person that I allowed in my house. I don't feel comfortable. But my spirit is telling me that I need to tell them that they cannot stay here. They need a place to stay and lay their head, but it may not be a good place and time right now. So
you're in the do the milk ritual to find out.
Okay.
About that.
All right, I'll do that tonight, because I just allowed them to come yesterday. But I'll do that tonight.
And when you allow people to come, you have to set yourself up to win and set them up to win.
Mm.
And setting yourself up to win is constantly having your home be a ritual space, be a spiritual space, consistently going to your people, telling them to create your home as a ritual space, as a spiritual space. Not just one or two times, you consistently do that. That's setting yourself up to win.
Okay, I see.
Because you don't have, you're not at a place where you have that deep, intimate connection with them. You're developing that. So you just have to remind them, hey, this is supposed to be a ritual, spiritual space, blah, blah, blah. Tell them every day. Give them, yeah, just tell them every day. Do invocation, tell them every day.
Every day, okay. All right.
And then I gave you the ritual for those centuries.
Yes, I need to do that. But you said only on Fridays? Is that the only day that I can do it?
I don't remember what did I tell you on Fridays? I don't remember.
You told me to do it Friday night and go to bed. But it may kind of conflict with the other ritual where we have to go to bed. So it's like, I'm not exactly sure which one.
It's not going to conflict.
It won't?
You can
so
do
just do them.
Days you want.
Okay. All right, then.
20 rituals if you want to.
Okay.
No, it won't conflict.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Let's see. We got Job. What you got?
Peace. So, like, I know that when I was younger, I had at least 3 spirits that would walk with, that I knew about, that walked with me, and they would always threaten to hurt me or do me harm if I didn't join them or rejoin them. So it's like I always had this knowing that I was a part of something, but I didn't know what it was. And I know they told me that if I told anyone, they would kill my family. So I decided that I wasn't rejoining them. And for a while, you know, they started kind of causing a little chaos, like attempting to get me hurt or killed. But then I always knew I had this protective bubble around me that would kind of thwart their efforts. Mm-hmm. Now it seems like they may be resurfacing in the form of like jumping onto my wife, because she's got a lot going on that doesn't seem to be affecting me, but it's affecting her. And I'm not sure if that may be the case, or it's just something entirely different, or if like we do got a divination coming up on Monday, so you ain't gotta get too deep into it, because I know it's gonna be one of the topics. But I was just wondering if that's possible, like spirits that walk with me jump onto somebody else because they can't affect me.
They may antagonize somebody else. That's possible. That's possible. Hold up, give me a second. Let me look at something.
Did we lose Chief? I'm not hearing anything.
He just went on mute.
We no hearing you, Chiefy.
I think he asked us to hold on a second.
Joke, that was a big question.
I didn't think it was good. He probably had to go. Somebody knocked on the door or
You had to
something.
go get some extra power for that one. It's like, oops, just a minute. Let me go for the big dogs.
I'm curious to know.
All right. Have your give your wife some of the black medicine I gave you.
Okay.
Has she already taken some of that?
Yeah, that's kind of the reason why we ran out. I had a whole family take it.
You know, it's funny because when I said that, my people were like, "She already took some." That's why I was like, "She already took some of that."
Uh-huh. I know there was one rider. I'm sorry, go ahead. Can't hear you.
Tell her to take some more, but she needs to specifically, gosh, a word wouldn't come out. She needs to specifically talk about what she's dealing with before she eats it, because you know you make the medicine and you pray over it before you eat it.
Yeah.
And then we'll handle the rest on Monday. Yes.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Okay. Let me see. Give me a second. We got about 5 minutes, and then I need to get me some lunch. Give me a second. Let me look at these questions. Okay. Man, we may have to do like a part 2 of this because I'm not gonna be able to finish this conversation today. Because we haven't even gotten into what do you do to maintain your protection and to keep your family protected. Anyway, let me see. If we can do these questions really quick, I'll take, since Shakuro, you went earlier, I'm gonna let the people who haven't gone go. So we take these two really quick because we got 3 minutes to get this handled. And then I need to go and get me some lunch because I have another ancestral session coming up after this one at 3, I think. Yeah, 3 o'clock. So I need to eat. Anyway, Tiama, what you got?
Hey, Chick. Okay, so this goes back to when you were talking to Kira about, I forgot what you were talking about with her, but you brought up the importance of not allowing like the herbs to catch on fire or bones from the black soup to catch on fire. So whenever I do rituals and I use candles, the flame would always burn past the point where there's no more wax and no more of the wick. The flame will still be burning. Now it's been a few nights where I've woken up and there's fire, but there's no candle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I know, like, dealing with the other stuff that I've been dealing with, the attacks that I've been dealing with, I just wanted to make sure that my ancestors are not trying to tell me something with that. Recently, when I did the last two rituals, these last 2 days, I've asked them not to allow the flame to burn past the point of the wax being gone and the wick, and they actually stopped that. So I just wanted to make sure that that's not something that I have to worry about.
No, because they're depending upon what I'm doing. So this is great, and I'll do a class on candles at some point. We'll do a workshop on candles, but that's reading the candles.
Okay.
Because when your candle is burning, there's always a message. Now, just whether or not you can read the message. I've had candles to continue to burn under the same circumstances as that you mentioned. There's no more wax. There's not even a wick. It's nothing, but it's burning, and it will continue to burn. And then eventually it goes out. But there's something that they're saying. Another example is when I put you all on hold, I went into my shrine room to do something. I lit candles this morning because I always get prepared for anything that I'm doing. So I went to my shrines, and I lit a total of 3 candles.
Mm-hmm.
But I put them in front of different shrines for specific reasons. But anyway, 2 of the candles were in front of one shrine. One of the candles burned out, and the other one is still burning. And when I went in there and looked, and the one that's in front of one of the other shrines is still burning. When I went in there and I looked, I just started laughing because I immediately got the message, like what they were saying. So there's always a message there. Those 2 candles are going to stay lit until I finish my day, because it's like they're telling me that they're holding the space. That's the way to put it, or that they're with me. And so I promise you, at 5 o'clock when I get done, if I walk in there, those candles will just be going out. So that's the message that I got from that. And so there's always a message in how the candle burns. And there's no static definition or reason or message. Like if the candle burns and there's no wax left, it means this. It could, depending on why you were doing it, what message they're sending you. So all of those things are factors.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, that's it.
Okay, cool. And real quick before I get to Queen Boss, this is for, I think it's Desiree, asked about when you know you should eat meat. And I meant to address that earlier, but it just popped in my mind again. Did you ask that question, Desiree? Somebody asked that. Something about when do you know, or when should you eat meat, or something like that. I don't remember the exact question. Girl, your lips moving, but I don't hear nothing.
Can you hear me?
There you go. Okay, I can hear you a little bit now. What you got?
Because you were saying that there will be certain times when you would need to, like for ritual and things like that. So I was asking, like, how do you know, like, when there will be a time for you to need to eat some meat, or even like you were saying, just when you're not grounded enough, like would you know when it will be a time where you needed to do that in order to ground yourself more?
Okay. I can like when I read that message, your question, two things came up. A, like if you're listening and if you're in a space where you're open for eating meat. Not saying you're gonna eat it, but because sometimes people will totally block that off and they'll be getting messages about it and they'll ignore the messages. And I've had people who are vegan who say, man, I have a craving for some lamb. I haven't eaten lamb in 15 years. I say, well, you need to eat lamb. I'm not saying you go and slaughter a whole lamb and just start gnawing on it. Not that one, but just go get you like a lamb chop and cook it and eat it, because they're telling you that you need to eat that for a reason. Now, for you just have to become open to the idea of eating like meat. And if you're open to it, they will say, and they won't say all the time, like every day, go out and, eat some lamb chops or whatever. They'll just periodically, you may have a thought of eating meat. It may come as a craving or something, and you just go eat a little bit. Now, a little bit is not a pinch. Maybe about something that's like a lamb chop is like the perfect size, because it's not big, it's not too small. Just eat it, and then that will ground you. Because you're very earthy. You're extremely earthy. And so by being earthy, like earthy things, like root vegetables are good for you. I don't know if you like root vegetables or not, but they're good. They're really good for you because you're very earthy. And eating like some type of, like, if you eat meat, I call them soft meats. A soft meat to me is like lamb, buffalo is a soft meat, things that are very easy on your system. They're not harsh. Like the way that we produce beef is harsh on our systems. So like a soft meat, like a lamb or goat is soft, or buffalo is soft. Like those are meats, or even ostrich is a soft meat. Like something like that's easily digestible. That won't hang around your system for 7 years. Like, man, I like it in here. It is cozy. Not those meats. But yeah, just periodically, like you'll know, like they'll tell you, and you'll notice how your spiritual awareness will begin to spike. Like it'll actually go up. And your spiritual awareness means like your spiritual understanding and how aware you become. And for you don't have to eat a lot of it, but they'll tell you when you do. They will. It's like I don't eat a whole lot of meat, but I eat it. Like my diet is about 80-20, roughly. And there are times when my body will say, only eat vegetables this week. That's all I'll eat. It's never said only eat meat, but it was like I'll get, okay, eat this type of meat this week. And then what'll happen is maybe a week or two later, something will occur from a spiritual perspective, which I will have to be extremely grounded to deal with. And so I'll see why they said, okay, like 2 weeks prior, eat some lamb or eat whatever they'll say eat, because something is coming that I need to be grounded to deal with. So I'll see it like that. Okay. Cool. All right. You're welcome. All right. Let me see. Queen Boss, let's make it quick so I can get me some lunch. What you got?
Okay, am I doing this right? Can y'all hear me?
Ooh, man, I want to get on that ADHD. Ooh, let's talk about that next. God, dog. Ooh, go ahead, I'm listening.
Okay, so hi everybody. This is like my first time talking on here, but so this is about protection. I was the one who had the question about jinns earlier and being protected by them, because Well, first I had a divination with you, and I completed all my yara yaras. But one thing that stood out was like one of the pieces landed really close to me, and you said it was about like somebody gossiping and a woman gossiping about me. A month later, I got a new coworker, and every day she harasses me, like bullies me, like every day. Every day she complains to our boss about me. And then I felt like, even like last night in my sleep, I felt like I had an attack. Well, not an attack, but like a jinn came and visited me. So I was really concerned about that. Now, one thing I have been doing, you know, like I said, I completed all the yara yaras, the one with the coals and stuff. I like to carry around crystals. I'm a crystal person, and I carry them in my fanny pack. So I had in my fanny pack, I had gotten up. She sits right next to me at work. I had gotten up, and my crystals jumped out of my fanny pack, and it was 3 of them, and they all circled around her. It was like a tiger eye, a selenite, and another stone. And I didn't want them to think I was weird, so I had to try to quickly pick them all up. But, and then my other thing was, I always have like dreams and things happening in 3, so I thought it was coincidence that it was 3 stones that came out, because whenever I have dreams, it's always like me and 2 other people.
Okay, so this is how you get that coworker handle. It's easy. Go to your ancestors, and specifically, once you call them, specifically call upon your great grandmothers, and you explain to them what you're dealing with, like this person at work, and you tell them to go and sit on her. It's Kappa squat. Okay? And then you tell them that you want them to silence her. You want them to like zip her. You want them to shut her mouth. That's another way you can put it. Or you can say you want them to twist her tongue. And tell them that you want them, if y'all hear some galloping, it's not horses, this is dog. Anyway, you want them to twist her tongue so that when she begins to speak against you, whether it's to you or to anyone, that her words are incomprehensible, that it occurs to people as babble. And when she speaks, she may sound like she's speaking clearly, but you want the people who are in earshot of her to not be able to comprehend, like, what is she talking about? And you tell them that you want them to occupy her with her own business. And if y'all hear some lapping and it sounds like a savage, that's a dog.
Okay.
Y'all might hear it. He is the loudest drinker I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, because I don't know, like I try to be nice. Like I know I'm not always the nicest person, but you know, I've been trying to work on my temperament, and like literally every day I forgive her every week, but every day it's like she sits there and just stares at me. Literally, I've caught her staring at me, trying to figure out like something that she could say and complain about. And I'm sure my boss is getting tired of it because they all tell me everything that she says. So I just really want, like, I don't want anything bad to happen to her. I just want her to leave me alone. Like you said, mind her business. But then the other thing, I kind of have a question. I don't know if you want me to save this for the ARC class. I sent you a message about it, about me, you know, invocating my father's side of the ancestors. And I just been having crazy dreams. Like, I've always been a dreamer, but these dreams are like, it's like a whole new world. Like, I'm like, why? I'm just like, most of the times my dreams, you know, after a while, they're like familiar people you recognize, but these are places and people I don't recognize at all. And it's like a lot of white people. And I mentioned to you, I don't know if it's because maybe in my dad's side, there's like white, like his great grandparents are white, maybe.
Yeah. Let's do that in the art class. That's
okay.
And raise your hand first, so I can.
Okay. I can't hear you.
Oh, I said, yeah, raise your hand first, because this is going to be a good one, because I see some stuff about that already.
Okay.
Okay. I know what's happening.
All right.
Okay. Excellent. Thanks. You're welcome. All right. So this is what we're going to have to do. We are, because it's 1:15 and I need to eat. I'm going to see about possibly doing part 2. Do another part to this. Let me see, how am I gonna do this? Because sometimes y'all get in that ancestry class at 3 o'clock and talk about nothing. Not figuratively, but literally, just quiet. So I could do it then. I don't know. I'll have to let you know how I'm gonna do this one, but you know, those of you who are in ARC, the ancestry class would be a good class to jump in, because it answers a lot of questions about ancestors, period. Because people have questions about, you know, invoking ancestors, using their shrines or whatever they're doing, because there are a lot of students in there who have shrines and who are actually in other classes outside of the ancestry classes, and how to incorporate that. So it's a very good class to be in, because you learn a lot out of that class. Anyway, for right now, like, that's all I got. I'm hungry. I didn't eat breakfast, unfortunately. Ran out of time. So I need to eat something. So yeah, I'll let you all, we'll see how we break this up. I don't know yet. I didn't anticipate having this be a 2-part workshop. So you guys have a fantastic day. And I expect to see most of you all at 3 o'clock. Yeah, dog it.
Appreciate it, Chief.
All right, y'all have a good day.
All right, Chief, go eat.
All right, I will.